Cardano versus Solana. Which altcoin is going to make you rich in 2026? Well, did you know if you price your wealth in Bitcoin, the answer is easier than you think? And for that, we'll have to go to the charts. Now, this debate is raging on because of recent statements that the founder of Solana made about Cardano's treasury plan. Solana calls Cardano's Bitcoin treasury plan dumb. Says Cardano's plan to convert some Cardano into Bitcoin is so dumb. And here's his post right here, and it was in response to this viral clip of Charles Hoskinson.
I do believe that it will not materially impact Cardano by doing a conversion of 5 to 10% of the treasury into stable assets and assets like Bitcoin. And in doing this, we can create a yield, and that yield on an annual basis can be used to purchase ADA and over time replenish the treasury. And if this program is successful, then we can actually continue that strategy on an annualized basis and over a period of 5 to 10 years, potentially grow to $1 billion plus stablecoin treasury and Bitcoin treasury to augment and enhance the ADA value in the treasury that we have.
Seems like a fair take. The Cardano treasury, for reference, has about $1.2 billion worth of Cardano, and he's suggesting 5 to 10% of that could be put into stablecoin assets or assets like Bitcoin. But the reply guys wouldn't let it end there. So let me get this straight. The number 11 market cap coin, aka Cardano, wants to buy Bitcoin because it recognizes that Bitcoin is more valuable than itself. Did I get that right? Don't know if that's the exact sentiment there. This person chimed in as well, yeah. And then another 10% of the treasury to create a Solana treasury. And here's the founder of Solana with his take. This is so dumb. Projects should keep 18 to 36 months of post-kill list runway and short-term T-bills, but that's about it. And by short-term T-bills, he means U.S. Treasuries. And this proposal is sparking a lot of debate. Now, there are reasons they want to do this. It is just to, create a bigger treasury in the future. They also want to bolster Cardano's decentralized finance ecosystem by injecting liquidity and generating sustainable returns. And when he says short-term T-bills, he's talking about the US dollar, which we all know is just declining over time. And I told you, if you're pricing your wealth in Bitcoin, this is actually not too hard to determine which is the better asset leading into the next year. Well, Cardano and Solana, we're going to look at the current level of Satoshis, meaning priced in Bitcoin, and then look at the potential upside and the potential downside and see what kind of percentage swings we're talking about. Now, before that, I do want to say the percentage of ETFs being approved is higher for Solana. Cardano only a 67% chance we see an ETF in 2025. Solana, though, now a 91% chance. But let's get back to the data here when it comes to asset prices. So we're going to look at Cardano priced in Bitcoin first. Now, the number you see above my head, this is the current level of Satoshis each ADA token is trading at. And right now, we're right around 600. But there's definitely potential upside and there's definitely potential downside. So we're going to talk about these targets and why I landed on them. So the first one I'm seeing to the potential upside is going to kind of be in between the little pumps we saw right here. This right here is the post-Donald Trump election pump, and it took us all the way to about 1,300 Satoshis. I don't think we go quite that high. I think we can do a little bit of a higher spike here. I'm thinking we're going to go somewhere around 1,300 Satoshis. I'm going to tell you why. Now, first thing I noticed, 1,300, really close to where we found resistance. Also, it was a place of resistance, the January part of 2024. Also, it was used as support during the bear market as Cardano was bleeding against Bitcoin. And if we go to the previous cycle, 2021, you can see it was an important area around that time as well. In fact, on the way to the bull run in 2021, that was the first spot of resistance. So to me, when I'm looking at this chart, 1,300 Satoshis seems fair. It's not some moonshot. When you go, the weekly here, I actually have much more bullish targets long-term. I do think we can, maybe hit this trend line, but we're just going to land at 1,300 for now for the upside. Now let's do the downside for Cardano. Now for the downside, to me, super easy. I think it's going to be right around 400 Satoshis. And when we go back, you could, probably see why. So putting a line right here at 400. And we slap that down and you can see, okay, that's exactly the bear market support that we saw 2019. And we didn't quite hit it in this last level, but there is a world, and if he has been cowing, he probably thinks it's going to go that low. So 400 is going to be the downside target. Now, I'll give you these percentages in 1 second, but now let's do Solana. Current Satoshi around 14,000. And when we go to the chart, you'll see a bunch of blue lines. Now, these blue lines are every 10,000 Satoshis. That's 10,000 Satoshis, 20,000 Satoshis, and 30,000 Satoshis. Now, when we go to the daily, you can definitely see Solana loves trading along in these ranges, and I found it kind of coincidental. Below 10,000, it saw a lot of support at 5,000, and I'll move this so you can see the little bit of a white line right there at 5,000. So boom, that was also support and resistance in the first part of the bull run for when Solana first launched. So I think we have a pretty clear upside and downside target, 20,000 Satoshis and 10,000 Satoshis. All right, well, now let's go ahead and reveal the percentages. We're going to do the downside. Let's give you the bad news first, and we'll end with the good news. If Solana goes down to 10,000 Satoshis, you're looking at a 31% drawdown. If Cardano goes down to 400 Satoshis, that is going to be a 33% drawdown. So looking at these two charts, the downside risk, to me, in my eyes, is pretty close to even. They could both potentially lose a third of their value to Bitcoin before I would predict a huge relief bounce. But now let's do the upside potential. This is the good part here. This is what we're waiting for. So if we see Solana go from 14,500 Satoshis all the way to 20,000, you're looking at a 38% increase. So slightly higher upside relative to downside. But Cardano, a little bit different here, 117% pump if it ends up going to that 1,300 range. So that's my 2 cents. Which is the better altcoin heading into 2026? I think they're both going to be doing fairly well over the next 12 months. I just think Cardano recently has lost more value to Bitcoin, relatively speaking to Solana, so there might be a lot higher potential upside here. So I don't know about you, but 118% pump sounds a lot better than the 38% pump. So I'm going to go with Cardano, but I don't hate you if you like Solana. But either way, I'll see you and your strong top 10 alts at the top.